Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
If one tasted a meat food, must they wait 6 hours prior to eating dairy? You want to taste the meat or the chulent or the chicken soup to see if it needs spices, needs salt, but you have in mind to eat a milchik snack or a milchik meal within the next 6 hours. Do you have to wait 6 hours if you simply taste the meat food? Or another case scenario in which you tasted the meat food or the chicken soup, and after a tiny bite you decided you're not interested in it and you're not eating anymore. Do you have to wait 6 hours for such a small, minute amount of meaty food that has entered your mouth? So while tasting foods in halacha finds various topics of discussion, such as do you say a bracha, are you let it taste on a fast day, you let it taste food before Kiddush, every topic of halacha contains its own bylaws of whether tasting is problematic or not, and the laws of waiting 6 hours to meat and milk is no different. Accordingly, in order to figure out whether tasting a meaty dish makes one fleshig and he has to wait 6 hours, we have to begin digging into what are the reasons that the Chachamim required us to wait 6 hours between meat and milk, and then begin applying the reasons to the case. So we find amongst the Rishonim a debate regarding the reason why we wait 6 hours between meat and milk. The first reason recorded in the Torah, attributed to Rashi, is because when you eat a fleshik food, when you eat meat, the meat naturally releases fat for 6 hours afterwards, and this fat is problematic to mix with any dairy you're going to eat within those 6 hours. A second approach, which is the reason of the Rambam, is that it has nothing to do with any fat being released through one's abdomen, but rather due to the fact that meat is chewy and meat gets stuck between your teeth. The practical ramification between these two reasons is in a case that one swallowed without chewing or chewed without swallowing, meaning he spat it out. If the reason is due to the fat, as is the first approach attributed to Rashi, then all we care about is what you swallowed. So if you swallowed meat or a meat dish, you have to wait 6 hours due to the fat that it releases. But according to the Rambam, you don't if you didn't swallow it, if you didn't chew it. On the other hand, if you chewed it, didn't swallow, Rashi would hold, you don't need to wait 6 hours, as it didn't enter your stomach. There's no fat being released. On the other hand, according to the Rambam, you would. And practically the final ruling of the Paiskim in the Shulchanaruch Mechaber 89.1 in Yeredeya, the Shach, the Taz, the Tur, and is the consensus amongst all Paiskim, is that we are stringent like both approaches. So if you chewed a piece of meat or a meaty dish, which contains pieces of meat, but did not swallow it, or you swallowed it but did not chew it, you have to wait 6 hours. And thus, if you chewed meat for a child and you spat it out, you have to wait 6 hours. And if you swallowed some chicken soup, even if it's simply for the sake of tasting, you have to wait 6 hours. Now, what about a case that you didn't swallow anything of the meaty food, and even what you chewed was not actual meat? I took a potato from the chicken soup or chulent, and I chewed the potato and spat it out. So here, I definitely don't have the reason of Rashi, as I didn't swallow any fat. And I also don't have the reason of the Rambam, I didn't chew any meat. So seemingly you don't have to wait 6 hours in such a case. Nonetheless, the Paiskim rule that we apply what's called a lay plug, an undifferentiating rule, that even though the reason doesn't apply, in order so people don't come to transgress in the other cases, we wait 6 hours even in such a case. And as concludes the Pri Megadim, Yisrael Kadeshimim, the Jewish people are holy, are stringent to wait 6 hours, and it's forbidden, Lifreitz Geda, to break this custom. So likewise rules Pischei Tshuva 89.1, in the name of the Pri Megadim 89 Mishpzei Zav 1, and so rule other Paiskim, and that is the Halacha L'maaseh. So it ends up that if you ever chew meat or a food that was cooked with meat or chicken, even if you didn't chew actual meat, and even if you spat it out, you have to wait 6 hours. Now we come to our last case. You didn't chew and you didn't swallow. No chewing involved. I put some gravy of the chulent, I put some soup, some of the broth of the chicken soup in my mouth, swished it around, tasted it to see if it needs spices, and spat it out. No chewing involved and no swallowing involved. Rule the Paiskim, in this case, in truth, you are not required to wait 6 hours, and there is no custom to wait 6 hours, and therefore you don't have to. So rules the Agos Marshak and the Pri Megadim, so rules the Ben Ishchai, Zivchei Tzedek, Darkei Tshuva, the Aruch HaShulchan, the Kaf HaChaim, and other Achreinim. And so is the Halacha L'maisa. So a final summary. If you tasted meat or a meaty dish and you want to know if you have to wait 6 hours, if either you chewed some of the food or you swallowed some of the food, you have to wait. But if you didn't chew anything and didn't swallow anything, you don't have to wait 6 hours. What we do have to remember here is a side subject, an issue of itself, is regarding us saying a bracha. If I want to taste the chicken soup and I want to become fleshik, so I'm going to spit it out without chewing, do I say a bracha? And on this, the clear ruling of the Poskim, the Alter Rebbe, is we never say a blessing unless we will be swallowing some amount of the food, so no blessing would be said in such a case. However, one should be careful not to put a revius of the broth into his mouth, as when tasting a revius, even without swallowing, a bracha is required. This Amir Hashem will deal with in a further halacha.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many Sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.